Guys, welcome back. I want to chat to you today about a book I just finished up. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall. Now, it's not a book review as such, it's more of a kind of lessons learned, and the book is filled with really good practical advice. And overall, it actually is a very good story, and I would recommend to anyone. Um, I got the audiobook version, so Arnold actually reads the first chapter himself, and then he actually finishes with the kind of top 10 tips as well at the end. And the reader is actually very good as well, because I know in some audiobooks they can be let down a bit by the person reading, but I thought it was a good overall book. So I'd highly recommend you get it. But I'd say this one's more just a few lessons learned, and I'll give you a bit of an overview of what I did learn from the book and what I know about Arnold now. So going into it, didn't know a whole lot about him. Knew he was a very successful bodybuilder, obviously a very impressive physique. I know his movies, so Conan the Barbarian, Terminator, brilliant action movies, and I knew he kind of dabbled in politics, but I didn't really know to what extent or what kind of went on there. So yeah, having read through it, it really is amazing. He's done so many different things, and I do find it fascinating how one person can be so good and do have kind of so much success in so many unrelated kind of aspects or ventures and things that take up. So Arnold's a perfect example of kind of being successful in many different areas. And just to give you an idea, the guy won an amateur bodybuilding championship when he was like 17. He won 7 Mr. Universe championships, 4 Mr. Worlds. He's on the Sports Hall of Fame. He's done over 30 movies. He's produced, he's directed. His movies have got over 4.5 billion worldwide. He's a successful real estate investor, successful entrepreneur. He's had a good political career. There's so much more. But yeah, how did he achieve all this stuff? For me, there was 3 kind of key ways, and I've kind of broken them down into three quotes that I've picked out from the book. And Arnold is kind of, for me, I kind of picked up a pattern. Anytime I wanted to do something or achieve something, there was kind of 3 steps to it, I noticed. First one being, he said, if I can see it and believe it, then I can achieve it. So take, for example, bodybuilding. He wrote down, I will be the greatest bodybuilder of all time. So he read that message every day. He pictured it, he thought, he dreamt of himself on stage, low body fat, big muscles, picking up the trophy in front of the crowd. And he had that so fixed in his mind that this is what was going to happen, that he was just 100% laser focused, and that's all he focused on, one thing at a time. And he thought about that before he went to sleep at night, first thing he thought of in the morning. And for a lot of people, they would call this focused, or they would say he's obsessed, but it's obsessed in the best possible way, focusing on this one thing. And those who would maybe have a bad opinion of that would say that it's unhealthy to be so obsessed with one thing, but really they're just afraid to commit wholeheartedly to one thing, because it's such a positive thing Arnold's doing. He is committing to a goal, he's putting everything into it, and it's something that I think we could all do more of, instead of kind of spreading ourselves thin, trying loads of things and not really achieving anything. Just focus one thing, do the research, focus incredibly hard on it and achieve it, then move on to the next. So it's something I want to implement more as well. Instead of having all these ideas of doing all these different things, just hit one off at a time. And yeah, for Arnold, it worked for bodybuilding, it worked in his political career, everything. He just set the goal, focused 100% on it, achieved it, then moved on to the next. And yeah, that's kind of stage 1 then. That's kind of the goal setting stage to it. The second one is, after you've kind of set the goal, it's all about self-belief. So Arnold had a real kind of fear of being ordinary. He said, what is the point of being on this earth if you're going to be like everybody else? And anything he tried, or basically anything he tried was different to what other people were doing, or he was doing things that weren't expected of him. So here we have this kind of poor Austrian boy. He joins the army, he does brilliant at that. He then goes and becomes the best bodybuilder in the world. He then goes to America and works in the gyms over there. He comes out with a lot of kind of brilliant best-selling books, bodybuilding books. He then moves into acting. He then moves into real estate. He then succeeds in politics. So he was always moving into areas where no one expected him to go, that weren't really being filled by many others, and that's what made him kind of stand out and become kind of a larger than life character. The fact that he would go into these areas where people didn't expect. So yeah, he did this with kind of an amazing self belief that some may call arrogance. And I think arrogance is fair because, to be fair, Arnold he's a flawed guy. He's not perfect, and he had a tremendous sense of kind of self belief about him. And when that arrogance is combined with, you know, skill and kind of ability and that a goal that's been set, if you have that such a level of arrogance and self-belief, you're going to succeed, because it stops you from doubting yourself when others doubt you, or if you fail, you're just going to keep going. And say people might call that foolish, but it's what kind of separates the people who succeed in life. It's that just complete self-belief that they're going to do well, and it's going against all the naysayers. So I think it's healthy to have a bit of arrogance to go with that skill. If you think about footballers, you know, of course natural ability comes into it, but you know, if you have all the amateur footballers, you know, everyone trains just as hard, let's say, but it's the ones who just keep going and going, even though people say, "Ah, you're crap," or if you've had a bad day, they just keep going because they just refuse to believe otherwise, that they're going to make it. And that's really what Arnold did. He just never let anyone kind of put him down or tell him otherwise. So that's how he succeeded so well. And the final kind of stage after he set the goal and he had that self-belief to believe in himself, then was just all about reps. Life is reps, he said. There's no shortcuts. So it's kind of the hardest part for a lot of us. It's that sticking to it, you know, the showing up, doing the same thing over and over again. And it's the boring work, it's the grindy side of things. So for Arnold, it would have been, with weightlifting, it would have been, you know, doing reps after reps, sets after sets, and working out multiple times a day, doing more than what's recommended or safe. And again, political career, when it came to learning a speech, he'd get that speech, read it out 100 times until he learned it off. The more you can learn something off and the more natural it becomes, the better you're going to be at it. That's really what it comes down to. It's putting in them boring, hard miles just to get to that kind of elite stage. And you know, if you think about trying to learn an instrument, a lot of people want to learn, say, a guitar. They go out, buy the guitar, they will get a tutor, turn up for that weekly lesson. That's the easy bit. But what about doing the half an hour practice every day when no one's really holding you accountable? So that's the difference. It's doing that bit extra when no one really is watching you, and it's doing it daily, it's doing it consistently, and it's doing more than anyone else. So that's what you can, from the book, that's what I got, the 3 kind of steps to success, really. Setting the goal, write it down, picture it one at a time, just focus 100% on it. The second one is just having that unbelievable self-belief that nothing can shake you. That doesn't mean that you don't take people's ideas on board and like constructive criticism, but you just believe in yourself that you will achieve it because you've done the research, and you know, you've set the goal, you've done the research, and you just believe you can do it. And then thirdly, it is just turning up and doing the work every day, doing more than anyone else, doing it consistently. So yeah, that was kind of a few things I picked up from the book. Now, that's by no means going into at all what the book covers. The book is fantastic, and I'd recommend you all read it because it's very inspiring. It's full of kind of a lot of lessons, and there's some funny bits in it there. There's some really inspirational bits. So definitely check it out, and the full kind of review is on the website there, The Powerful Plan, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks.